Welcome to Stories of Hope. This is a podcast by the Dream Center.
Where you will hear from people who have stories that once seemed hopeless.
People whose stories of redemption and life transformation are so powerful, they can only be possible by the power of Jesus.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Stories of Hope. I'm Sarah and I'm here with Brady.
Hey guys.
And today we have Rebecca, who works for our Pickens resale store. Rebecca, we are so excited to have you.
Thank you.
I know I've been telling you for a couple weeks now. I've been super excited to hear your story and kind of get to know you a little bit more. So tell us how you got involved with the Dream Center.
So I actually used to work at the Home Goods in Easley. I helped open the store. And my mom actually told me, she's like, there's a listing on Indeed if you want to check it out, because I was looking for another job. And it was for Pickens. So I applied, got called for an interview. Did the phone interview, came in for the regular in-person interview, and then got hired. I started August 2 years ago, and then in May I got promoted up to assistant manager.
Amazing.
So
We started like the same time then. I didn't even realize that.
it was 2 years last Thursday.
Okay.
So.
Wow, I didn't realize we started like the same week. That's cool.
Aw,
That's awesome.
sweet. So the whole concept of Stories of Hope, we're just talking through situations or seasons in your life where it was challenging, more difficult, and how kind of Lord brought you and walked you through that. So if you want to kind of talk about kind of like your story, how like where you came from growing up, that kind of stuff.
Sure. So this one actually starts about 10 years ago. So I was sophomore, junior in high school, and at this point, this was something like mental health, things like that. It's just you don't talk about it, nothing at all. And I had kind of got to just like a rough spot. My anxiety started developing in my freshman year, and it just kind of spiraled and kept getting worse, honestly. And I'd actually seen this thing recently, and it's on my wall in the office, and it said, you believe what you feed yourself. So if you feed yourself these horrible things, you'll believe them. So that's what I did. I ended up feeding myself like things like you're unloved, you're unworthy, you're not good enough, and it just spiraled, kept spiraling down. And I honestly didn't know what I was feeling. It was just, I was like, I had a great family, I had a home, I went to school, nothing bad happened, and I just couldn't quite figure out what was going on. So I didn't tell anybody. I just kept to myself. And then it just kept spiraling into the point where one night I sat in my room. It was dark, it was quiet, and I was like, this is it, I'm done. I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I was like, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, which I knew they did. Right. But I just felt like I had nobody. And, again, nobody talked about mental health, so one thing I did, because I didn't know any better, was I went to social media. And there was a whole deep part on Instagram where there's people who feel the exact same way, and you don't know about it. And that night I had two people, don't know who they are, random strangers who stayed up with me all night and talked me out of it. And they told me things. It was like, oh, things will get better, everything's fine. And I stayed up throughout the night and just kept going. And of course it wasn't easy after that. And but I kept going on. And one thing about me, I love to doodle, like drawing little things, and that was a route I used, and it was like dark drawings, I guess. It was just how I felt. And one day, I don't remember from when that happened to this day, I don't really know the time frame, but I was sitting in the floor looking at all these papers, and I was like, I'm just tired, and I can't deal with this anymore. And I remember sitting there, and I just prayed, and I was like, God, I'm tired of feeling this way. Help me not feel this way anymore. And to this day, I physically can tell you I felt weight physically come off my shoulders. And, it's not been easy since then, obviously, but I've not felt that dark anymore. And it has gotten better. And one day was like, oh, things will get better, great things will happen. And, I'm like, I graduated high school, had my gold GPA, I got married, I just celebrated my 4-year wedding anniversary with my husband. We went to Texas, we've seen all these different places, and it's like amazing things. But when I look back on this, the best thing is though, so this was about 2014. February 11th of February 11th of 2018, I got saved.
Yeah.
And knowing that like 4 or 5 years prior to that, I wasn't saved. I knew God, but I didn't truly know him. And the fact that he helped me through that, he kept me alive. Because I was like, if I would have went through that, I would be in internal agony and pain and suffering right now. And that was, I think, the hardest thing for me to really grasp, is that I could be in hell right now.
Sheesh.
But I'm not. And he saved me. And then I came to the Dream Center 2 years ago, and earlier this year, which would have been about 10 years, there was a group that came in to do suicide prevention training. And I was hesitant. I was like, I kind of want to go, but I kind of don't want to go. And that Friday before, during the Zoom meeting, I was like, if anybody wants to help, just let us know. So I reached out to Tanya. She was like, yeah, just come on and help. And then we were sitting in there, and it was just kind of like dawning on me. I was like, I went from there 10 years ago of having somebody intervene to me that I have no idea who they were, to be able, thanks to the Dream Center, honestly, to be sitting there learning how to intervene to other people who may be in the situation that I was in 10 years ago.
I love that.
Jeez.
So you can go into as much detail as you want to, but kind of like, what kind of put you on this path of like, what was things that were leading to your anxiety and depression? Kind of like talk about like kind of what that looked like, things that kind of led to that.
Well, anxiety runs in my family, so it's like a hereditary thing. And I kind of, looking back now, I saw like elementary school, middle school, where things kind of added up to it, but it really didn't full-fledged hit till my freshman year and the summer after my freshman year. Like, I didn't want to leave the house, so I didn't have any interaction with friends. I was just pretty much at home all the time. So I kind of got secluded. And then I think just with pressures of school and everything like that, it just gets to the point where it just gets overwhelming. And then you have to deal with things of, I had low self-esteem, and you feel like, if you're not popular, you're not pretty, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So with, I think, a combination of all that, it just kind of swirled together, where I started believing, I wasn't good enough. And then it just kind of keeps spiraling and spiraling. And I think that's kind of what led to it. Because I was like, I had a great family, I had a great life. I had friends. I went to church. But it was all in mentally. And, I also, believe that it was the devil who was just sitting there egging it on too. But, yeah.
So I know you talked about like you were going to church and stuff, but you didn't really know Jesus. And then you met Jesus, and then that's when everything kind of changed. So like, I want to hear more about like, how did he get your attention? What did that look like? Where were you?
So I had actually met my now husband in church, and it was in July of 2015. I went to Bible school, and then I just kept going from there. And it was one of those, like, I thought it was, it was when you're like a younger kid and you just do it. And I remember I was sitting there at church one day, and I was just sitting there, I was like, I'm waiting for something to happen. Something's got to happen. And I knew what it was. It was like, I wasn't waiting for like something to happen. People start cheering, like everything. I was like, that's what it was. It was like God was pushing you, like, you need to get saved. And I remember the church, it was like the regular auditorium, and you had 2 wings, and then the pulpit, and I was off to one of the wings, and I just walked up, and I remember exactly where I was kneeling at, and the preacher came by, and he's like, you saved? And I was like, no. And I had gotten saved that day.
Wow.
So
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I love that.
Awesome. Sarah's heard me talk about this a ton, but like, church is like one of the biggest like things for me. Not about the like routine or religion or whatever you want to call it of going to church on a Sunday, but once you realize how the Bible talks about us being the church, the body of Christ, like all these things, and not being about a building, but also like the way that God moves once you make the decision to be like, this is a priority. Being with the body is important, to see how we can move. And so, it just makes me happy. I'm just so thankful. That's so cool.
And just knowing a little bit about you now, of like seeing you at the stores, coming in, traveling a lot, and seeing how happy and go-lucky you are, it's kind of crazy to me. Like, that is your story. You were like so depressed, and you were sad, and you didn't love yourself the way like the Lord created you to be loved. And for me, it's just I love seeing who you are now. So it blows my mind that you were
Yes.
like the exact 180
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
10 years ago, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
It's so crazy.
I very much faked a smile, and now it's like then I had to fake it, but now it's genuine.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell
You
it's
can
genuine.
tell,
100% you can tell it's genuine.
You know when somebody's like forcing a smile on,
Oh, yeah.
and when
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is just your jaw must always be sore from smiling because
Yeah.
it's always there.
So we had Jackie on the last season and got to talk to her and hear her story. How is it working with Jackie and being underneath her leadership, and what's like the dynamic in the community look like for you in the story now? We talked about the church a little bit, so like talk about your work community.
Well, Jackie is phenomenal. Like, there's no one else I think I'd rather be under. She has taught me so much, has helped me learn, and we're like kind of similar, but not at the same time. So we're kind of introverted. We kind of are more on the quiet side, and I feel like focus a little bit more on the business side. Like in our office, it's just all business information, contacts, everything, and my side is just like random artwork and just stuff. And she's always like, my nickname there is Crime Dog because I like know the security cameras and stuff like that. And there's
That's
like,
funny.
if you need to find somebody, they'll like come to me. And she's like, you're the more like display and art, like kind of creative thing. So that's kind of the difference between us. But I think overall we're still similar. And but the store itself, like, I know other stores are probably like, oh, we have the best team. But I'm like, no. I was like, we really
I love
have
it.
the best
Love it.
team. Everybody's so sweet. They're so loving. You know, when we come in for devotions or fellowship, and we can pray with each other and hug each other. And when somebody's really burdened, they can come to us, and like we just love on everybody. And it's fun.
That's one of my favorite things about all the stores is how many managers we get to talk to from the stores. It's like they've all said the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's team is great. Our team's the best. And I'm just like, I love that every store has such a good sense of community.
And they all mean it.
Yeah, and they
all mean
all
it.
like it's just, and it's so good to see like the recognition of each team is important, but also like there's always going to be that special like, you know. So I just, man, it's so cool. So cool.
So kind of a little bit more going back to your story a little bit. So you met Jesus and you're starting to like turn your life back around. So what is the last few years of your life like following Jesus now that he has set you free from all of that?
Well, it's still going to be a struggle because, you know, life's always hard. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have challenges. But I've just really seen where God can just bring you through things. And it's just like, even if there's days where I'm just like ill as a hornet, or I'm like, don't talk to me, don't touch me, don't look at me, I'm still joyful though, just because, you know, I wake up every morning. You know, I have the friends I have the family, I have the coworkers where like if anything's wrong, like they know or I can go to them.
Right.
And just seeing God move just daily, and through our employees especially, like getting to see where they came from, the things they prayed for, and the things that happened, and it's fun to see God in everything.
Yeah, I was thinking too, what is the relationship with like your family looked like going from obviously that rough patch before meeting Jesus to now this, like, well, how have relationships shifted? And
Well, it's funny because like I think when you're living with like at home with your parents, it's just like there's tension because you're like arguing and stuff. And then like when I got married and moved out, it's like me and my mom talk every single day.
Right.
Like it's like we're best friends. So I think that's one of the differences is just, you know, I think there's separation since we're not living together, but it's drawn us closer. So
yeah, that's cool. It's fun to see the shift of like childhood to parenthood to like parenthood and friendship, because there is such a dramatic shift of like, okay, yes, you're my mom and dad, but also we're all adults. We're now just like friends, which is great, and it's a lot of fun.
I'm an adult, and I'm like, I see why you reacted in
It
certain
makes
ways.
sense now.
When you're like,
Yeah.
no, we don't have money to go McDonald's after school. I'm like, I understand that now.
Got it. Yeah, that's
We
awesome.
do have food at home.
Yeah, right.
So kind of looking back, what is something that you would have told yourself 10 years ago? Like, what is that one thing that if you could have told yourself 10 years ago, like, what would that one thing be?
Probably, honestly, the main thing is like you are worthy. You are good enough. You are special. You are loved. I think that's the one thing is knowing like I felt like my self-esteem like was nothing, and I felt just like everybody hated me because I felt like I would be better off if I was dead. And I think that's something now is just been like you are better off living. Like, you're going to do some great things in life.
What are some practices in your life that you have to keep that in the forefront of your brain? What are like things that you do, people in your life that you have, different things that like make sure you believe that and keep that on the forefront of your brain? Because
I think when you look at it, because most of the time you're going to think of it in a negative aspect, and I think now I have to think of it differently, as in, you know, yes, I came from there to where I am now, and knowing that if a thought kind of comes in, I just need to, for one, know that it's the devil. They're trying to, you know, get a hold of me, and know that that's not true. But for now, also knowing, like, if I know somebody who's kind of feeling off, something's just not right there, being able to reach out to them and be like, listen, this is where I was and this is where I am now. And knowing that even if I feel off one day or just feel really low, is knowing that there's somebody out there I could help. Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah, beautiful.
I love the way she copes, is knowing like my story's good enough to like help somebody. Like that's how she gets through it, which is kind of cool.
Because I know whenever, like I told you, when the podcast was announced that bringing it back, it was like the Lord was like, "You're talking about this," and I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "If I'm asked, I'll talk about it." And I'd actually talked to Kathy Webb about it for a little bit, and I was like, "I don't really know why." That the Lord was like, "You're talking about it," and then I was like, "You know, I don't know who or how many people is going to listen or watch this, but if it's just that one person that's like needs to hear this, then that's all worth it."
So good.
It's incredible.
So good.
So, Con, what are you kind of praying for right now? Like, what are the things that you're hoping for, dreaming for? What are you and Jesus talking about right now?
Honestly, well, there's some family issues going on with like my parents and siblings, so I'm always going to be praying for that, just because I know the Lord will work through whatever. Always praying for work family, because each of them do go through a lot, so always praying for them. Praying for me and my husband, because we do hope eventually to start our own family. So just in God's timing, and just
so cool. A lot of what you said, you know, we've filmed a couple episodes for this season now, and literally all I'm seeing in everybody's story so far is like, and everybody who's tuning in this season is gonna like hear it all the time, but like God's revealing like how sovereign he is over like what that actually looks like, as far as whether he put it into motion or he allowed it to happen, it was from him or it wasn't. Like, he's just over all and in all, and even the things that he didn't orchestrate, he's like, I'm right here, I'm good. And literally the verse of the day today is like, I will work all things together for good. Like, that's, and so it's just, I'm seeing it every episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So I'm just thankful to see like what God is doing already through just getting this next season rolling. It's really cool.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because I feel like in all the, like, even last season it was a very common thing, and then other podcasts before. But really this season it's loud.
Yeah, it really
it's
is.
such a loud theme, and it's kind of really cool.
And obviously I believe that's going to be super important for the people that are listening. It's like he's there regardless if like you know him or you don't know him, or you're far from him or close to him. Like he's right there, and we have some really cool testimonies. Revelation 12 again, of just like testimony is so important, and I'm just so thankful.
Yeah, I have something actually written down at my desk, and I'd like kind of seen a video about it, and there's something I'd also kind of wrote down myself that kind of helped me like remember this is it doesn't matter if you're sinner or saved, if you're reckless or redeemed. It doesn't matter if you know God, God knows you. It doesn't matter if you love God, God loves you regardless. So I'm like, and then I can relate to that myself of, I knew of God, but I didn't know him. And yet he loved me enough and knew my path to help me go through everything I went through.
Beautiful.
It's incredible.
Amazing.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us and chatting through it. I know it's not easy talking about stuff, and I feel like talking about mental health is super important, and not creating a stigma behind it. So I really like appreciate you opening up and being honest about that, and hopefully like someone else will be encouraged to also kind of talk about that. So I really do appreciate that.
I think this helps me kind of officially kind of close that door, because I was honestly like kind of ashamed talking about it, but now I'm like, I feel like this is the point where I'm like,
Yeah.
You're accepting it, you're moving past it, and hopefully can help somebody else.
You're also putting the devil in his place by telling
yeah.
people about what
Yeah.
you've been through and how God's redeemed
Absolutely.
it. He's losing ground. Like
yeah.
right now. He's
Absolutely.
like, okay, another one.
Another
I
one.
love it. I love it. It's awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will see you on the next episode of Stories of Hope.